Here's why productivity alone ain't gonna save you. Most people think productivity is about cramming more into the day. I used to believe that too. That if I could just optimize enough, hack enough, and squeeze every drop of efficiency from all my hours, that I would finally be free. But what I learned, and painfully, is that productivity without clarity is just a faster way to burn yourself out. I see lots of founders and executives, high achievers, they're doing this every single day. They layer on more tools, more apps, more calendars, more systems. They feel busy, they feel optimized, but deep down they are still suffocating. Their mind never stops racing. Their inbox keeps filling, and their calendar owns them instead of the other way around. That is not productivity. That is just speed. And when I became a millionaire, I thought that that would be the point where I could just slow down. But instead, my habits pulled me into an even more work environment, right? I didn't know how to stop chasing the next thing. That is when I realized the truth. Real productivity, it's not about more output. It's about more outcome. It is about designing your time so that every single action moves you closer to the life that you actually want. Not just the business that you think you're supposed to build. Here are 7 shifts, okay, that I'm going to share with you. They're not about cramming in 16 hours of work into 8 hours. They are about creating calm while still achieving big results. Because you can't have freedom without discipline. And you cannot have discipline if you are measuring the wrong things. So let's get into this, okay? I'm going to break down the very first of these 7 shifts, okay? One that instantly cuts your workload in half while doubling the value of your time. And it is something that almost no one in the productivity space talks about. This is the first shift, measuring output in dollars and not hours. One of the most dangerous traps for high performers is thinking that time equals value. You put in more hours, you think you've done more. But if you actually look at the return on those hours, most of them aren't really moving the needle at all. And when I made my first million, I was still falling into this trap. I'd have days where I worked 10 hours straight. But if I looked at the real results, 80% of my time was probably spent on things that had almost no impact on my revenue or my growth. And most of us, we're addicted to low value work because it feels safe. Checking email, making small tweaks to a project, fiddling with your CRM. These are the kinds of things that feel productive, but they're just mental comfort food, right? The first shift to becoming a calmer millionaire was redefining productivity in terms of financial outcome. I started asking one question every morning. What is the highest value thing that I can do today that will directly or indirectly create revenue or long-term freedom? You gotta ask that. And it's surprising because when I began measuring output in dollars instead of hours, my days got shorter, not longer. I started saying no to almost everything that didn't tie back to the business outcomes that I cared about. Some days my productive, that kind of work, it was just 2 hours long. But those 2 hours drove more results than the 10-hour grinds I used to do. This shift forces you to make brutally honest decisions about your calendar. It's not about being busy. It's about being paid for your effort, whether it's in cash, equity, or future leverage. Next, we're going to go into the second shift. Okay, this is the one that removes decision fatigue entirely, and it makes every day feel lighter while still building momentum. So let's get into shift number 2. Create a fixed daily framework. One of the biggest drains on your energy, it's not the work itself, it's the constant decision making about what work to do next. This is called decision fatigue, and it's the silent killer of focus. Every time you decide, should I work on this or that, you are burning mental fuel that you'll never get back. And by the time you actually start the real work, you've already taxed your brain. When I was still in that hustle mentality, I would wake up, grab my phone, check my emails, scroll LinkedIn, peek at YouTube stats, glance at my to-do list, and by 9 a.m. I'm already, making 100 micro decisions. And the result is just scattered energy, slower output, and way more stress. The fix was creating a fixed daily framework, a set structure that dictates when and how I work on specific things. So I never waste mental bandwidth deciding in the moment. So here's an example. I have a 2-hour block in the morning for deep work, and that's on revenue-driving activities. After that, I've got 1 hour for calls or creative work, and then another block for follow-up and admin stuff. My afternoons are either content creation or rest, nothing else. This might sound rigid, but here's the twist. The structure creates freedom, because when you know exactly what each block of your day is for, you eliminate the chaos. There's no wondering what to do. You just step into that block and you execute. And by sticking to this, I found that I could get more done by 1 p.m. than I used to accomplish in a full entire day. And because my work ended earlier, I had more time to recharge, which then made the next day even more productive, and so on and so on. So let's talk about shift number 3 now. It's a counterintuitive move that instantly raises your productivity without adding a single new tool or a strategy. Actually, it involves removing something you're probably clinging to right now. This is the third shift. Eliminate the productivity theater. Most entrepreneurs are performing for an audience that doesn't exist. We fill our days with what I would call productivity theater. Okay, it's the illusion of working hard so we feel accomplished, even when the work has no real impact. We make detailed spreadsheets that no one's going to read. We spend hours refining proposals that won't close. We over-polish slide decks for meetings that don't even matter. It's like building a movie set that looks like a city, but it's just plywood and paint. I fell hard into this trap in my earlier years. I thought that being busy was proof that I was valuable. But then I realized something. Nobody was watching. And more importantly, nobody cared. The market rewards results, not effort. Your clients, customers, and partners, they are not measuring how hard that you worked. They are measuring what you delivered. And this is the shift. I ruthlessly cut anything that didn't directly move me toward my revenue or my freedom goals. If a task didn't clearly generate sales, or deepen a critical relationship, or build a long-term asset, it was gone. That meant fewer meetings, shorter emails, and no more tweaking things just to feel productive. The payoff? I freed up massive amounts of time and mental energy. That space allowed me to double down on all of the work that actually mattered, the projects that had leverage and long-term payoff. And once I saw just how much more progress I made without the theater, I never went back, and I never will. This is not about doing less for the sake of it. It's about cutting the performance art so that you can actually get the result you want. Let's talk about another shift, number 4. This is a technique that transforms how you approach your work entirely by focusing on just one number every single day. So here we go. This is the shift number 4. Track one number that matters. One of the fastest ways to reduce overwhelm is to stop tracking everything. Most founders, they drown in the metrics: revenue, impressions, likes, conversions, comments, watch time, email open rates, follower accounts, lead flow. While data is important, too much of it becomes noise. and the noise is going to kill focus. I learned this the hard way when I was really trying to grow 3 separate businesses all at once. Every morning I would open up 5 different dashboards. I thought that I was staying informed, but what I was really doing was chasing dopamine hits from small wins and panicking over short-term dips. My priorities shifted daily because my attention shifted daily. And then I made a change. I picked one number that truly represented forward motion for my biggest goal. At one stage, it was the number of sales calls booked. Later, it became the number of new subscribers to my community. For YouTube, it's the total watch time per week. One number. That's it. And by tracking only that number, I forced myself to ask a daily question. What am I doing today to move this number? It simplified decision making, eliminated all the distractions, and it made progress easy to measure. This is the unexpected benefit that happens when you focus on one number. Other metrics, they often improve as a byproduct of that. Book more sales calls? Okay, great. Your revenue is going to go up. If you improve your watch time, your subscriber growth is inevitably going to follow. If you build your email list, sales conversions are going to spike later on. The key is to choose the number that's both measurable and directly tied to your desired outcome, not just a vanity metric. Now we're going to get into the 5th shift, okay? This is the single habit that keeps you from working more hours, especially as you grow, even when the opportunities keep pouring in. So here's shift number 5. Set a hard stop time and keep it sacred. One of the biggest lies that high achievers tell themselves is this: I'll just work until I'm done. The problem in business, you're never really done. There's always one more email. There's always one more lead to follow up on. There's always one more tweak to a proposal, one more comment to reply to. That mindset turns into endless evenings at your desk, and burnout is just a matter of time. When I was scaling past 6 figures, I told myself long hours were temporary, but they weren't. I had trained myself and everyone around me to believe that I was always available. The truth is that work expands to fill the time that you give it. Without a boundary, you're always going to find ways to fill that gap. The shift came when I set a non-negotiable hard stop time, right? 5 p.m. No laptop, no just one click Slack reply, no late night, I'll get ahead for tomorrow. It felt really, really tough at first, like I was leaving opportunity on the table. But what I actually did was force myself to prioritize ruthlessly during the day. So when you know that you have to shut down at a certain time, you naturally focus on the highest value work first. The fluff gets cut. The endless checking, it disappears. And here's the kicker. You start making faster decisions because you no longer have infinite time to tinker. And it also sends a message to your clients and your team. I value my time, and I expect you to value it too. That boundary doesn't just protect your calendar. It is going to protect your energy and your creativity. Those are your true profit drivers. All right, let's get into shift number 6. This is a counterintuitive move that's going to make you more productive while doing less than you ever thought possible. So here we go. The 6th shift. Build white space into your calendar. If you looked at my calendar during my always on phase, you would have thought that I was an air traffic controller. Okay, every single minute was spoken for. Meetings, calls, deep work blocks, even quick breaks, scheduled down to the minute. I believed that this was productivity. In reality, it was a recipe for chronic exhaustion and mediocre output. The human brain is not designed to run at peak focus for 8 straight hours. Okay, creativity, problem solving, strategic thinking, they do not happen when your schedule is packed. They happen in the gaps. those moments when your mind is free to wander. That's where your biggest breakthroughs are going to take place. That's where they emerge. Now my calendar looks radically different. I block intentional white space every single day, chunks of time where nothing is scheduled. These aren't just breaks I fill with scrolling or errands. They're intentional pauses where I think, plan, or simply let ideas percolate. Sometimes I take a walk, other times I sit with a notepad and maybe I'll sketch out some ideas. And yes, occasionally I do nothing at all. Nothing. By doing less during those blocks, I've created far more value in my work. The best marketing hooks, sales strategies, and growth decisions that I have made in the last few years, they came out of those pauses, not from grinding through another task. White space also gives you buffer room for that unexpected. Instead of a single curveball derailing your day, you have the bandwidth to absorb it without spiraling into stress. This shift takes discipline, guys, because it feels counterproductive at first. But once you see just how much more impactful your work becomes, you're going to wonder how you ever operated without it. All right, here we go. The last shift, number 7. This is the single mindset upgrade that is going to let you scale your income without scaling your stress. Shift number 7, measure success by input, not just output. Most high performers, they make the same mistake. They judge their entire day by the results that they produced. Revenue earned, deals closed, followers gained, tasks completed. The problem is that output is influenced by countless variables that you cannot control. Clients delay decisions, algorithms shift, prospects ghost. If you tie your sense of accomplishment to those results, you're going to ride an emotional roller coaster that is going to burn you out. The sustainable alternative is to measure your success by inputs, the controllable actions that over time produce the outputs that you are desiring. So for example, instead of asking, did I land a new client today? I'll ask, did I send my 5 targeted outreach messages? Instead of, did my video hit 10,000 views? I will ask, did I publish according to my content schedule and optimize my SEO? So by tracking inputs, you regain a sense of control and consistency. You cannot guarantee a client signs today, but you can guarantee that you showed up and you did the work that moves you closer to that outcome. So over weeks and months, those consistent inputs, they stack up and the results follow without the mental whiplash of obsessing over daily wins or losses. This shift also removes the temptation to overwork in pursuit of an immediate outcome. So when you know that you've hit your inputs for the day, you can shut it down without the guilt, trusting that compounding effect is going to deliver. It's not about ignoring results. It's about focusing on the levers that you can pull every single day. And ironically, this mindset, it not only lowers your stress, but it often accelerates your growth because you stay consistent longer. So let's wrap this up. There's one more shift. Tricked you. Number 8, it's a transformative change that's going to protect your freedom while keeping your growth on track, okay, for the long haul. So here's shift number 8. Design your business around energy, not just time. Most productivity advice still treats time as the primary resource to manage. Block your calendar, batch your tasks, schedule deep work. That's fine, but time isn't the real bottleneck for most founders. Energy is. You can have 3 uninterrupted hours on paper, but if your brain is fried, those hours are not going to produce anything meaningful. The shift is to design your business around when you have the highest amount and the highest quality energy, and to protect those windows like they are your most valuable assets, because they are. My mental sharpness peaks very, very early in the morning. So that's when I do all of my most important work. Scripting videos, writing posts, mapping strategies. My afternoons are much lower energy, so I reserve them for much lighter tasks, like responding to emails or handling admin stuff. So when you align high energy windows with very high leverage tasks, you compress the amount of time that you need to achieve the same output, often dramatically. 2 hours of peak creative energy, that can really outproduce 6 hours of grinding through fatigue. So as you build your team, you can also design their workflow to match their natural energy. So some people, they hit their stride in the evenings. Other people, mid-morning. Matching tasks to energy not only increases performance, but it also increases your job satisfaction. And this is also where freedom comes in. When your business is aligned with your best energy, you stop dreading work blocks and you start looking forward to them. You can take guilt-free afternoons off or enjoy spontaneous trips without feeling like you are falling behind or apart, because you know you've already put in your best work when it counts. The result is that you're not just more productive, you're more alive. That is the real win. Growth without the grind. If you're still grinding, you might consider subscribing to my newsletter, okay? I produce it weekly, and it's at natberman.com. If you're interested in my community, feel free to check out the website, which is joinbrandbuilt.com. And obviously, if you haven't subscribed yet, I have a serious problem with that, so hit that button, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.